Vandeyam Shri Guru Shriyatam Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Om Jnana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gorva Bhishtam Supurkam Garganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Venanipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujvalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandabaranam Balarka Chelan Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyambudim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyasishvara Shridaram Vanshakopatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabharanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Nama. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Antya-lila chapter 13, pastimes with Jagadananda Pandit and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Text 1. Krishna vicheda jatartya shine chapi manastana. Krishna vicheda jatartya shine chapi manastanu dadate vulatam bhavar yashyatam goram ashraye. Let me take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Gaurachandra. His mind became exhausted and his body very thin from the pain of separation from Krishna. But when he felt ecstatic love for the Lord, he again became fully developed. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Sri Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. Hinamate Mahaprabhu, Jagadananda Sanghe, Nanamate Ashwadai, Primera Tarange. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would taste various transcendental relationships of pure love in the company of Jagadananda Pandit. Krishna vichede duke Krishna manakai bababeshe prabhu kabu prafulita hoy. The unhappiness of separation from Krishna exhausted the Lord's mind and reduced the structure of his body. But when he felt emotions of ecstatic love, he again became developed and healthy. Kalara sharalate shayanati kinakai Sharalate haralage vyata hoy gai. Because he was very thin when he lay down to rest on the dry bark of plantain trees, it caused him pain in his bones. Dekisa bhaktagana mahadukapai sahite nare Jagadananda Sri Jila upai. All the devotees felt very unhappy to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in pain. Indeed, they could not tolerate it. Then Jagadananda Pandit devised a remedy. Shukma Bastra Ani Gorika Diya Rangala Simuliya Tula Diya Taha Puraila. He acquired some fine cloth and covered it with red oxide. Then he filled it with cotton from a shimula tree. Ekatuli Balisha Govindara Hate Dila Prabhure shoyaiha iha tahare kohila. In this way he made a quilt and a pillow, which he then gave to Govinda, saying, "Ask the Lord to lie on this." Swarup Gosaike kohe Jagadananda Ajayapane Jana Prafure Karaya Shayan. Jagadananda said to Swarup Damodar, "Today, please personally persuade Mahaprabhu to lie down on the bed." It was this quilt that Jagadananda had made. Shayanera Kali Swarup Taha Rohila Tuli Balisha Deki Prabhu Kroda Bishta Hoya. When it was time for the Lord to take rest, Swarup Damodar stayed nearby, but when Mahaprabhu saw the quilt and pillow, he was immediately very angry. Govindare Puchane Iha Karaila Konjan Jagannanander Namashuni Sankocha Hoilaman. The Lord inquired from Govinda, "Who has made this?" When Govinda named Jagadananda Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was somewhat fearful. Govindare kohese tuli dura koila, kalara sharala upar shayana korila. After asking Govinda to put aside the quilt and pillow, the Lord lay down on the dry plantain bark. Swarup kohe tomaricha ki kohite pari shaya upekile pandi dukkha pabebari. Swarup Damodar said to the Lord, "I cannot contradict your supreme will, my Lord, but if you do not accept the bedding, Jagadananda Pandit will feel great unhappiness." Prabhu Kohen Kata Ek Anaha Padite Jagadananda Chahe Amai Vishaya Bunjaite. Mahaprabhu replied, "You might as well bring a bedstead here for me to lie on. Jagadananda wants me to enjoy material happiness." Okay. Sannyasi Manushamar Bhumiti Shayan Amare Kata Tuli Balisha Mastakam Mundan. I am in the renounced order, and therefore I must lie on the floor. For me to use a bedstead, quilt, or pillow would be very shameful. Swarup Gosayasi Pandita Kohila Shuni Jagadananda Mani Mahaduka Paila. When Swarup Damodar returned and related all these incidents, Jagadananda Pandit felt very unhappy. Swarup Gosai Tabe Sri Jila Prakar Kadalira Shuka Patra Anila Apar. Then Swarup Damodar devised another method. First, he secured a large quantity of dry banana leaves. Naki chiri chiri taha ati shukma koila prabhura bahirvasa duite sesa barila. He then tore the leaves into very fine fibers with his nails and filled 2 of Mahaprabhu's outer garments with the fibers. 2 of Mahaprabhu's bahirvasas, which is like a shortened sannyas dhoti. Emata dui koila arana padane angikara koila prabhu aneka jatane. In this way, Swarup Damodar made some bedding and pillow, and after much endeavor by the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted them. Tate Shayana Korin Prabhu Deki Sabe Suki Jagadananda Bitare Kroda Bahire Mahaduki. Everyone was happy to see the Lord lie down on that bed, but Jagadananda was inwardly angry, and externally he appeared very unhappy. Purve Jagadananda Icha Vrindabana Jaite Prabhu Agyana Dena Tarina Pare Chalite. Formerly, when Jagadananda Pandit had desired to go to Vrindaban, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not given his permission, and therefore he could not go. Bitarer Krodaduka Prakashana Koila Mathura Jaite Prabhu Stani Agya Magila. Now, concealing his anger and unhappiness, Jagadananda Pandit again asked Mahaprabhu for permission to go to Mathura. Prabhu kohe Mathura Jaiba Amai Krodakori Amai Dosha Lagana Tumi Hoiba Bikari. With great affection, Mahaprabhu said, "You are angry with me. If you are angry with me when you go to Mathura, you will merely become a beggar and criticize me." Jagadananda kohe Prabhu Doriya Charan Purva hoite Ichamora Jaite Vrindaban. Grasping the Lord's feet, Jagadananda Pandit then said, "For a long time I have desired to go to Vrindaban." Prabhu agya nahita te na pari chaite ebe agya deho abasya jaimu nischite. I could not go without your lordship's permission. Now you must give me permission, and I shall certainly go there. Prabhu prite taragama na koren angikar teho prabhu thai agya mage bar bar. Because of affection for Jagadananda Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not permit him to depart, but Jagadananda Pandit repeatedly insisted that the Lord give him permission to go. Swarup Gosaire Pandita Koila Nivedan Purva Hoite Vrindavana Jaite Moraman. Jagadananda then submitted a plea to Swarup Damodar. For a very long time, he said, "I have wanted to go to Vrindaban. Prabhu agya bina tahan jaite na pari, ebe agya na dena more krode jahaboli." I cannot go there, however, without the Lord's permission, which at present he denies me. He says, "You are going because you are angry at me." Sahaje moratahan jaite manahoy Prabhu agya loya deho koreye vinoy. Naturally, I have a desire to go to Vrindaban. Therefore, please humbly request him to grant his permission. Tabe Swarup Gosai kohe Prabhu racharane Jagananander icha bora jaite Vrindavane. Thereafter, Swarup Damodar Goswami submitted the appeal at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jagadananda Pandit intensely desires to go to Vrindaban. Tomaratai agyadeho mage bar bar agyadeho mathura deki aishe egbar. He begs for your permission again and again. Therefore, please permit him to go to Mathura and then return. Aire dekite jaiche goda deshe jai taichi ek bara Vrindavan dekiai. You permit him to go see Mother Sachi in Bengal, and you may similarly permit him to go see Vrindavan and then return here. Swarup Gosaira Bole Prabhu Agyadila Jagadanande Bolaya Tare Shikaila. At the request of Swarup Damodar, Mahaprabhu granted Jagadananda permission to go. The Lord sent for him and instructed him as follows. Varanasi Parjanta Swachande Jaibapate Age Sabadane Jaiba Katriyadi Sate. You may go as far as Varanasi without encountering disturbances, but beyond Varanasi, you should be very careful to travel on the path in the company of the Kshatriyas. In those days, the path from Varanasi to Vrindaban was infested with robbers, and therefore there were Kshatriyas to protect travelers. Kevala Gaudiya Paile Bhattapada Kori Bande Kebala Gaudiya Paile Bhattapada Koribande Sab Luti Gandirake Jaite Virode. As soon as the plunderers on the road see a Bengali traveling alone, they take everything from him, arrest him, and do not let him go. Bengalis are generally not very stout and strong. Therefore, when a lone Bengali traverses the roads of Bihar, the plunderers on the road capture him, rob all his belongings, and kidnap him for their own service. According to one opinion, the rogues of Bihar know very well that Bengalis are intelligent. Therefore, these thieves generally force the Bengalis into service requiring intelligence and do not allow them to leave. Mathura Gele Sanatana Sange Rohiba Mathurar Swami Saber Charana Bandiba. When you reach Mathura, you should remain with Sanatan Goswami and offer respectful obeisances to the feet of all the leading men there. Duri Rohe Bhakti Koriya Sangena Rohiba Tasabar Charana Cheshta Loite Nariba. Do not mix freely with the residents of Mathura. Show them respect from a distance. Because you are on a different platform of devotional service, you cannot adopt their behavior and practices. The residents of Vrindaban and Mathura are devotees of Krishna in parental affection, and their feelings always conflict with the opinions of smarta brahmanas. Devotees who worship Krishna in opulence cannot understand the parental devotional feelings of the residents of Mathura and Vrindaban who follow the path of spontaneous love, or Ragmarg. Devotees on the platform of Vidimarg, regulative devotional principles, may misunderstand the activities of those on the platform of Ragmarg, devotional service and spontaneous love. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Jagadananda Pandit to remain apart from the residents of Vrindaban who were spontaneous devotees so as not to become disrespectful toward them. Sanatana Sange Korea Bana Darashan Sanataner Sangana Chadiba Ekhan. Visit all 12 forests of Vrindaban in the company of Sanatan Goswami. Do not leave his association for even a moment. Shigra asiyatahan narohiya chiraka govardhanena chadiya dekite gopal. You should remain in Vrindaban for only a short time and then return here as soon as possible. Also, do not climb Govardhan Hill to see the Gopal deity. In his Amrita Pravahabhasya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises that one avoid remaining in Vrindaban for a very long time. As the saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt. If one stays in Vrindaban for many days, he may fail to maintain proper respect for its inhabitants. Therefore, those who have not attained the stage of spontaneous love for Krishna should not live in Vrindaban very long. It is better for them to make short visits. One should also avoid climbing Govardhan Hill to see the Gopal deity, since Govardhan Hill itself is identical with Gopal. One should not step on the hill or touch it with his feet. One may see Gopal when he goes elsewhere. Amiya asitechi kohiha sanatane Amara Tare Ekstan Jena Kore Vrindavane informs Sanatan Goswami that I am coming to Vrindaban for a second time and that he should therefore arrange a place for me to stay. Ita boli Jagadananda Koil Alingan Jagadananda Chalila Prabhur Bandhiya Charan. After saying this, the Lord embraced Jagadananda Pandit, who then worshipped the Lord's lotus feet and started for Vrindaban. Sabhaktagan Thai Agya Magila Banapate Chali Chali Varanasi Aila. He took permission from all the devotees and then departed. Traveling on the forest path, he soon reached Varanasi. Tapan Mishra Chandrasekhar Dohare Milila Taratai Prabhur Kata Sakalayi Shunila. When he met Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar in Varanasi, they heard from him about topics concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mathurate Asi Milila Sanatane Duijaner Sange Duhe Anandita Mane. Finally, Jagadananda Pandit reached Mathura, where he met Sanatan Goswami. They were very pleased to see each other. Sanatan Korila Tare Dwarasham Banadarshan Gokule Rahila Duhe Deki Mahaban. After Sanatan Goswami had taken Jagadananda to see all 12 forests of Vrindaban, concluding with Mahavan, the two of them remained in Gokul. Sanataner Gofate Duhe Rohe Ektai Pandita Pakoran Devaloye Jai. They stayed in Sanatan Goswami's cave, but Jagadananda Pandit would go to a nearby temple and cook for himself. Sanatana Bikka Koran Jai Mahabane Kabul Devaloye Kabul Brahmana Sadhane. Sanatana Goswami would beg alms from door to door in the vicinity of Mahavan. Sometimes he would go to a temple and sometimes to a Brahmin's house. Sanatana Panditera Kore Samadan Mahavane Dena Ane Mage Anapan. Sanatana Goswami attended to all of Jagadananda Pandit's needs. He begged in the area of Mahavan and brought Jagadananda all kinds of things to eat and drink. Ekdina Sanatane Pandita Nimantrila Nitya Nritya Nitya Kritya Kore Teho Paka Chadaila. Ekdin Sanatane Pandita Nimantrila Nitya Kritya Koriteho Pakachan Chadaila. One day Jagadananda, having invited Sanatan to the nearby temple for lunch, finished his routine duties and began to cook. Mukunda Saraswati Nama Sannyasi Mahajane Ekbahirvas Teho Dila Sanatane. Previously, a great sannyasi named Mukunda Saraswati had given Sanatana Goswami an outer garment, meaning like a sannyas dhoti. Sanatana se bastra mastake bandiya Jagannanander basadwari basila asiya. Sanatana Goswami was wearing this cloth bound about his head when he came to Jagadananda's door and sat down. So apparently Sanatan Goswami had used that cloth given by Mukunda Saraswati to make a turban on his head. Like a turban bound around his head. Sanatana se bastra mastake bandiya Jagadananda basadwari basila asiya. Sanatan Goswami was wearing this cloth bound about his head when he came to Jagadananda Pandit's door and sat down. Ratula Bastra Deki Pandita Premavishta Hoila Mahaprabhur Prasad Jani Tahare Puchila. Assuming the reddish cloth to be a gift from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagadananda Pandit was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. Thus he questioned Sanatan Goswami. Kahan paila tumi e ratula basan, Mukunda Saraswati dila kohe sanatan. Where did you get that reddish cloth on your head? Jagadananda asked. Sanatan Goswami replied, Mukunda Saraswati gave it to me. Shuni panditera mane kroda upajila, batera hadi hate loyas marite aila. Shuni panditera mane kroda upajila, batera hande hate loya marite aila. Hearing this, Jagadananda Pandit immediately became very angry and took a cooking pot in his hand, intending to beat Sanatan Goswami. Sanatana tare jani lajita hoila bolite lagila pandit hari chulate darila. Sanatan Goswami, however, knew Jagadananda Pandit very well and was consequently somewhat ashamed. Jagadananda therefore left the cooking pot on the stove and spoke as follows. Tumi Mahaprabhur how parshada pradhan, Toma Soma Mahaprabhur priya nahijan. You are one of the chief associates of Mahaprabhu. Indeed, no one is dearer to him than you. Anya sanyasira bastra tumi darashire kon aiche hoy iha pare sahibare. Still you have bound your head with a red cloth given to you by another sannyasi. Who can tolerate such behavior? Sanatana kohe sadhu pandita mahashai Toma sama Chaitanya priya ke honoi. Sanatan Goswami said, My dear Jagadananda Pandit, you are a greatly learned saint. No one is dearer to Mahaprabhu than you. Aiche Chaitanya Nishta Jogya Tomate Tumina Dekaite Aiche Chaitanya Nishta Jogya Tomate Tumina Dekaileha Shikiba Kemate. This faith in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quite befits you. Unless you demonstrate it, how could I learn such faith? Jahadeki bare bastra mastake bandila se apurva prema e pratyaka dekila. Jahadeki bare bastra mastake bandila se apurva prema e pratyaka dekila. My purpose in binding my head with a cloth has now been fulfilled because I have personally seen your uncommon love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rakabastra Vaishnavera Paritena Jujai Kon Pravasire Dimu Ki Kai Upai. Rakabastra Vaishnavera Paritena Jujai Kon Pravasire Dimu Ki Kai Uhai. This saffron cloth is unfit for a Vaishnava to wear, therefore I have no use for it. I shall give it to a stranger. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments on this incident as follows. Vaishnavas are all liberated persons, unattached to anything material. Therefore, a Vaishnava need not accept the dress of a sannyasi to prove his exalted position. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order from a sannyasi of the Mayavad school. Present-day Vaishnava sannyasis, however, never think that by accepting the dress of the sannyas order, they have become equal to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In fact, the Vaishnava accepts the sannyas order to remain an eternal servant of his spiritual master. He accepts the sannyas order knowing that he is unequal to his spiritual master, who is a Paramahamsa, and he thinks that he is unfit to dress like a Paramahamsa. Therefore, a Vaishnava accepts sannyas out of humility and not out of pride. Sanatan Goswami had adopted the dress of a Paramahamsa. Therefore, it was inappropriate for him Sanatan Goswami had adopted the dress of a Paramahamsa. Therefore, it was inappropriate for him to wear the saffron cloth on his head. However, Vaishnava sannyasi does not think himself fit to imitate the dress of a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. According to the principles set down by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Trinadapi Sunichena, one should always think oneself in the lowest stage, not on the level of a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. Therefore, a Vaishnava will sometimes accept the sannyas order just to keep himself below the position or below the level of a Paramahamsa Vaishnava. This is the instruction of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The Vaishnavas will accept sannyas and sannyas dress, not to imitate the activities of exalted souls, but we do not imitate neither we accept the dress of a Babaji or so-called Sahajiya dress, which persons in Vrindaban use. Therefore, wanting to show proper respect and appreciation for the dress of Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and others, a person will use sannyas dress rather than the dress of the Paramahamsas, which is what the Sahajiyas imitate. And in one incident when Brahmananda, when one sannyasi, Brahmananda Bharati, came dressed in a deer skin, Mahaprabhu didn't appreciate that at all, and understanding that Brahmananda was given the proper sannyas dress to put on rather than a deer skin, because he thought, Brahmananda thought, Mahaprabhu doesn't like that I am trying to gain some prestige by wearing something as full as a deer skin. And then he accepted the sannyas clothes that Mahaprabhu sent for him. And those sannyas clothes are good because we do not use the dress of the Goswamis like the Sahajiyas do in Vrindaban. So we prefer to that Babaji dress. We prefer the sannyas dress. Although here Sanatan Goswami gives the correct opinion. He says, this saffron cloth is unfit for Vaishnava to wear. Therefore, I have no use for it. I shall give it to a stranger. So he expresses what's the truth for exalted souls like Sanatan Goswami and other renunciants of Mahaprabhu. They saw that the sannyas dress was normally given by a Mayavadi sannyasi. Mahaprabhu had received the sannyas dress of a Mayavadi, but he always showed himself, despite that position, that not only was he the exalted Supreme Lord, showing the attitude of Trinadapi Sunichena, showing a pure Vaishnava attitude, but also Mahaprabhu generated that in the person of Kesha Bharati, his spiritual master, in the sense his sannyas guru. Mahaprabhu said to Kesha Bharati, is this the mantra that you're going to give me? And Kesha Bharati said, yes, that's the mantra. So in effect, he heard that mantra from Mahaprabhu himself. Pakakori Jagadananda Chaitanya Samarpila Dvijan Basitave Prasada Paila. When Jagadananda Pandit finished cooking, he offered the food to Mahaprabhu. Then he and Sanatan Goswami sat down and ate the prasadam. Prasad Pai Anjone Koila Lingan Chaitanya Virahe Duhe Korila Krandan. After eating the prasadam, they embraced each other and cried due to separation from Lord Chaitanya. Emata Masha Dui Rohila Vrindavane Chaitanya Viraha Dukana Jaya Sahane. They passed 2 months in Vrindaban in this way. Finally, they could no longer tolerate the unhappiness of separation from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu Sandesh Kohila Sanatane Amiya Asitechi Rohite Korea Ekstane. Jagadananda Pandit therefore gave Sanatan Goswami the message from the Lord. I am also coming to Vrindavan. Please arrange a place for me to stay. Jagadananda Pandit Tabe Agyamagila Sanatana Prabhure Kichu Beta Bastudila. When Sanatan Goswami granted permission for Jagadananda to return to Jagannath Puri, he gave Jagadananda some gifts for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Rashastalir Balu Ara Govardhanera Shila Shuka Paka Pilu Vala Ara Gunjamala. The gifts consisted of some sand from the site of the Rasa-lila, a stone from Govardhan Hill, dry ripened pilu fruits, and a garland called Gunjamala, which appears to be red and white. They appear like dry beans, red and white color. There's a garland of those. Jagadananda Pandit Chalila Sabloya Vyakula Hoila Sanatana Tari Vidaidiya. Thus Jagadananda Pandit, bearing all these gifts, started on his journey. Sanatan Goswami, however, was much agitated after bidding him farewell. Prabodha Nimita Ekstan Mani Vicharila Dwarasha Ditya Tilai Ek Matapaila. Soon afterwards, Sanatan Goswami selected a place where Mahaprabhu could stay while in Vrindavan. It was a temple in the highlands named Dvarashaditya Tila. Seistana Rakila Gosai Samskara Korea Maturer Age Rakila Ek Choni Bandiya. Sanatan Goswami kept the temple very clean and in great repair, and in good repair. Sanatan Goswami kept the temple very clean and in good repair. In front of it, he erected a small hut. Shigra Chali Nila Chali Gela Jagadananda Bhakta Saha Gosai Hoila Parama Ananda. Meanwhile, traveling very quickly, Jagadananda Pandit soon arrived in Jagannath Puri, much to the joy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees. Prabhu Charana Bande Sabare Milila Mahaprabhu Tare Drida Alingana Koila. After offering prayers at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagadananda Pandit greeted everyone. Then the Lord embraced Jagadananda very strongly. Sanatanare Name Pandit Dandavat Koila Rasastaler Duliadi Sababeta Dila. Jagadananda Pandit offered obeisances to the Lord on behalf of Sanatan Goswami. Then he gave the Lord the dust from the site of the rasa dance along with the other gifts. Sabdravya Rakilena Pilu Dilena Bantiya Vrindavanera Fala Bodhi Kaila Rishta Haya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept all the gifts except the pilu fruits, which he distributed to the devotees. Because the fruits were from Vrindaban, everyone ate them with great happiness. Je keho jani aniti shushite lagila jena jani gandiya pilu chabana kaila. Those devotees who were familiar with pilu fruit sucked on their seeds, but the Bengali devotees who did not know what they were chewed the seeds and swallowed them. Muke taraf jal gela jiva kore jwala Vrindaban era pilu kaite ek-lila. The hot chili-like taste burned the tongues of those who chewed the seeds. Thus the eating of pilu fruits from Vrindaban became a pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. Jagadananda agamane sabar ulas matan nila chale prabhur bilas. Jagadananda agamane sabar ulas mate nila chale prabhur bilas. When Jagadananda Pandit returned from Vrindaban, everyone was jubilant. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed his pastimes while residing at Jagannath Puri. So I'm going to stop here and we'll sing Hari Haraya. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaoite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jaoite Vignana Shabishta Puran. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. Janame Janame More Abhilas. H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash. Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamodas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai, Srila Vrindaban Das Thakur Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Bhagavad Ki Jai, Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Dham Mayapur Ki Jai, Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, Sri Kuladvip Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Sokel, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai, Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Sri Vrindaban Dham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kana Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.